What if, every time your fingers reached for the rosary, all of heaven paused, utterly still? Behind the veil where our senses cannot go, even angels seem to still their wings. A quiet unlike anything earthly settles like golden mist, and Mary, gentle, radiant, aware, turns her gaze softly toward you. With each Ave Maria whispered from your lips, something ancient and divine stirs. It's not just a prayer, it's a signal, a pulse of light, a divine knock on heaven's door. Saint Catherine of Siena once glimpsed this mystery. She wrote of visions where every bead of the rosary ignited into a flame, and heaven responded like a vast choir receiving its cue. But what most never realize is this: the moment you begin your rosary, something begins there, in that unseen kingdom above. What if you could know what truly unfolds in that moment? Over the next few minutes, we'll travel into that mystery, and you might never pray the same way again. Because this isn't only about your soul. Your prayer may be setting other souls in motion too. Type this in the comments now. Lord, I believe heaven listens. Let that be your first act of faith today, quiet, sincere, and watched by heaven itself. And if this awakens something in you, subscribe to Living Catholic Faith, because this journey doesn't end with just understanding. It begins with transformation. Catherine didn't merely recite the rosary, she entered it. In the stillness of her room, hands shaking, she clutched those beads as though they tethered her to heaven itself. And maybe they did. She saw something most never do: vast gardens in the skies where each prayer blossomed into a living flower. Roses of light, perfumed with mercy, rising upward in silence, caught gently by angels, as if they were rare, sacred things. To any passerby, she was just a woman murmuring in the dark. But to the eyes of heaven, she thundered. Each Hail Mary, she said, was a flare, an offering flung across the night toward eternity. Mary caught them, she blessed them, she lifted them like incense to her Son, and each bead slipping through her fingers sparked a ripple in heaven. A soul stirred. A saint lifted their head. Sometimes, a door opened. Between time and what is timeless. Between one soul's sorrow and another's intercession. And it all began with something as simple as the rosary. Catherine once wrote, "In every prayer made with pure love, heaven begins to burn. Maybe, just maybe, that fire begins now, with you. Maybe your voice feels small. Maybe your faith feels worn. But if you could see what your prayer awakens, you wouldn't dare let a day pass without reaching for that chain of light again. Let this be more than the story of a saint. Let it become your invitation, a threshold into your own divine encounter. Your note in the symphony that heaven is waiting to hear. Heaven doesn't wait for the final amen. The moment you whisper, Hail Mary, something shifts. A sacred stillness falls, not just around you but above you. Catherine saw it. Angels bending closer, not from duty, but from awe. These are beings who stare upon the face of God, and yet they marvel when a fragile human calls out to their queen with love. A melody begins, faint at first, like the gentlest wind touching harp strings. But with every Hail Mary, the music grows, the harmonies deepen, and heaven joins in. The saints, those wounded and victorious souls, hear you. They remember, and they respond. Not as ghosts or relics, but as living voices, merging their prayer with yours. This isn't poetic metaphor. It's real. It's liturgical. It's the structure of grace, the design of the kingdom. Because in God's world, no one prays alone. When you speak from the heart, heaven listens, not symbolically, but personally. So the next time your voice trembles through the words, Holy Mary, Mother of God, remember who's listening and what's unfolding above. Every rosary is a song, and Mary is the bridge it travels across. Catherine saw it clearly. Prayers don't remain on earth. They rise. They reach. And Mary, like the most attentive of mothers, gathers them like notes from her children, weaving them into hymns only heaven can hear. She doesn't merely hear your prayer, she steps into it. She cloaks it in her mantle, and with hands more tender than morning light, she brings it to her Son, not as noise, not as demand, but as trust. When you pray the Rosary, you're handing your hopes, your wounds, your love into the hands of the Queen of Heaven, and she knows exactly how to carry them, exactly when to speak, and exactly what to say. No one knows the heart of Christ like his mother. Catherine once wrote, "Mary is the vessel through which every mercy flows. Let that truth settle. Your voice may waver, your words may fall short, but if they pass through Mary, they reach heaven with a strength far beyond your own." That's why the Rosary isn't merely repetition. It's procession, a movement of grace. From your lips, through her love, to the throne of God. And each time you return to it, you're whispering once again, "Mother, take me with you." And she does. She always does. If only you could glimpse what heaven sees when you pray, you would never let that Rosary leave your hands again. Because when you pray, something stirs. Not always in you, not always in the room, but always beyond the veil. Light awakens, chains loosen, dark places grow bright, and mercy flows like a river called forth by your small, faithful yes. Saint Catherine of Siena once wrote, "Every soul who prays with love becomes an instrument through which God acts." And it's true. You don't need to be eloquent. You don't need to feel strong. All you need is a Rosary in your hand and a flicker of belief in your heart. Because those beads, small as they are, carry the weight of grace. Each Hail Mary is not a mindless repetition. It's a release of mercy, of fire, of pleading love. And that fire doesn't just warm the soul. It burns away the cold of sin. It dissolves confusion. It cuts through despair like morning light through a fogged window. When you pray the Rosary, you're not just murmuring words into an invisible sky. You're unlocking something. A gate swings open. And what flows through it isn't just comfort, it's transformation. Not only for your day, but for something far deeper, something eternal. That prayer could shift a moment in someone else's life, someone close, someone far, someone you'll never know until eternity folds time in two. This is why the saints clung to it daily, why Mary keeps appearing through centuries and continents, Fatima, Lourdes, Akita, with one urgent plea echoing again and again, pray the Rosary. Not because she wants admiration, but because she knows what it unleashes. She sees what we don't, and she's still waiting, patient, radiant, for you to pick it up again. For the rescue to begin, because when you do, when your fingers return to those beads, you aren't alone. You step into a divine exchange that's already in motion. Saint Catherine called it a bridge of mercy, and across that bridge flows the power of heaven to earth, life to afterlife, your heart to God's. In that moment, your quiet prayer isn't yours alone. It joins a great symphony, the voices of martyrs and mystics, saints and sinners, mothers and missionaries, all threading their prayers beside yours. Think about that. Your voice, barely above a whisper, is braided with the ancient echoes of those who came before. And heaven listens. Even souls in purgatory, waiting, hoping, are touched by what your prayer sets loose. Catherine said, "One soul in union with God can draw countless others upward." Maybe that soul is you. Maybe this is the moment when your prayer lifts a stranger, comforts a forgotten soul, or calls down grace on your own family. Every time you move those beads between your fingers, you're not just counting prayers, you're stepping into a sacred rhythm that spans centuries and stretches beyond time. You don't need to pray like a saint. You just need to pray like someone who believes heaven is listening. Start small, 1 decade. Hold each bead as if it holds a name. Your child, your spouse, a soul no one prays for anymore. Say each Hail Mary like it might be the one that tips the scale of grace for someone hanging on the edge of hope. And don't rush. Let your heart decide the pace. Let the silence speak between each prayer, because heaven never hurries. Before you begin, just whisper this: Mary, take these prayers where they are needed most. That's all. That's enough. That's how you begin to move with the rhythm of heaven. Now you know. Every Rosary you offer doesn't vanish into the air, it resonates in eternity. Heaven leans in. Angels respond. Mary moves. And somewhere, a soul breathes easier, simply because you said yes. Don't let this day pass without offering one more decade. Don't wait until your words are perfect. Begin with the ones you have. Type this in the comments now. Lord, I will not waste a single bead. Let that be your promise, your yes, your offering. And if your heart longs to go further, subscribe to the channel and walk this road with us each day. We'll be there, praying with you, praying for you, and carrying the rosary together.